race across America. It starts in Oceanside, California, and finishes in Annapolis, Maryland. It's a single-stage bike race. I have to do it in less than 12 days to become an official finisher. In its 32-year history, less than 300 people, different people, have finished RAAM successfully.
It's an incredible experience. The RAAM is like one really, really, really long day because it becomes your focus and you're determined to keep your rider on the bike. Some of the experiences are as a crew working together, seeing the teamwork as a crew, as with friends, pulling together for a common purpose. Having been here once before helped a lot. The route was fairly similar. There were a few changes. So just knowing the RAAM organization and the route a little bit helped a lot. And then having GPS was a lifesaver.
My name is Henry Penner. And yeah, our goal, or my goal, and I guess it goes for every member in the team, is to be the best we can, to do whatever we can to make Arvid win. The team cannot win the race for the racer, but they can lose it for him. And that has really stuck with me, and so our goal is to do our best, that we don't interfere, but help him along in a way that make the race as easy as possible for him.
It's a big challenge for anyone who ever wants to try it. It would kind of be like, you know, get 5 of your best friends, all get into a small car and spend the next week or two together being sleep deprived and being in, you know, sort of one-star motels, and you're all sort of sweaty and smelly, and now you're under stress trying to make sure that Arvid doesn't spend an extra minute on the bike going the wrong way. So the stress is unbelievable in terms of sort of minute to minute and not wanting to let him down. I did a fair bit of driving, as did Henry, and at nighttime your charge is right there, right? And you've got enough light in your headlights that if you're too far forward, of course, you're at risk of running him over. If you're too far back, he really can't see. And so it's a huge responsibility, but also it was just many nights where you're just kind of in the zone and you're following him, and you see a deer hop across the road, and you just say, you know, God's at work here, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. I'm just privileged to be part of it.
I was born in Paraguay, South America, so the only bike we had is one adult bike, and I was so eager to learn to ride it. I was about 5-6 years old, put my legs through the triangle of the frame, and then tilted the bike about 45 or 7 degrees, and so that's how I rode through the country. And I remember one of our neighbors actually saying, you know, that kid's gonna go somewhere on that bike. In 1995, I took my old mountain bike for a 40-kilometer bike ride in spring. After 30 kilometers, I called my wife. I said, can you please come and pick me up? I cannot make it home. So that was my introduction into cycling. I realized at that point, but wow, it feels good to do something significant on your own power like that. So that's when I got into longer distances on my own, eventually into what we call randonneuring, which is self-supported distances of 600, 1,200 kilometers. And then eventually I got into this ultra-marathon cycling racing, which is still the short distances, the 600 to 1,200 kilometer races. You know, when you're on a bike for 24 hours, 48 hours, and you do this stuff, it actually becomes a very self-serving and selfish endeavor. And it didn't sit well with me, and I simply said, if I'm going to put that kind of effort into something, it's got to be for something else than my personal satisfaction. So that's what led me to the point where I said, I got to try and do something with it.
People live in Nairobi.
1 million of those live in the slums.
With no enough food.
And no sanitation or medical care.
If I live in the slums, I'll be addicted to drugs.
I will have to beg.
To steal.
I would most likely be a prostitute.
I'll be beaten regularly.
Or raped.
I will trust no one.
I'll have no hope.
I would have no future. I'll be lucky to see my 20th birthday.
I'll be dead.
Children, especially disadvantaged children, have always been very close to me. In 2006, my wife Ruth and I went out to MCF to wanted to see for the first time exactly what this organization was like. I was sent pictures and stories of about 30 kids. I chose, for no apparent reason, one kid, little girl named Charity. It was just a baby, a toddler at that time, maybe a year and a half, 2 years old. Charity's story is very simply, she was born to a teenage mom. Poverty, family problems led this teenage mom to a state of desperation, and she left her infant to die on the rocks by the side of the river. Charity was rescued by somebody and placed in the care of Mully Children's family. In 2006, we went to one of their evening programs, the devotional program, singing that they do. I love kids. Little kids were running around in the back. I held out my arms. A little girl jumped on my lap. It happened to be Charity. I had carried her picture for 30 days and 7,000 kilometers across the country. Now she sat on my lap for 30 minutes. And everything changed for me at that time.
The ministry started to grow over the last 24 years. We have been able to see 7,500 children who have gone through the program over the years, and currently we have over 2,300 kids, little babies, all the way up to 22 years. We prepare them to become self-reliant. We have a school for them where they learn from kindergarten, primary school, secondary school, vocational training, and already at the moment we have 118 boys and girls who are in universities and colleges in Kenya, 6 in Germany, 3 in Canada, 1 in the USA, and 1 in Australia. And therefore, we are moving forward to win and transform these young people, restore their hope, because they had no hope, but now they feel they can do a big change and transformation for others. Wow. We have also a sustainability program, and that we do a lot of farming through irrigation, water irrigation, and we have been doing that one over the last 15 years, and we grow vegetables and food for the kids, and as well as also for the people in the community, where we also serve them and give them relief food. We sell and export French beans and green beans to Europe, in Germany in particular, and the Netherlands. And this helps us to raise about 45% of our income. Because in Africa, always we cry and cry for the West people to come. But I came up with an idea as a businessman who was very successful, came up with an idea to train people how to fish rather than giving them the fish and fish and fish, and then involve them into useful work that they can make money. And therefore, through that, MCF has created job opportunities to over 1,200 those who work in the farm, because kid does not work in the farm. And therefore, there is a lot of impact through the training of the kid and helping them psychologically so that they can change their world, and that the world will become better when we invest to these young people.
There's a story of a girl named Lillian that was rescued at age 8 by Charles Mully himself. She weighed 14 pounds at age 8. She was hours away from death, placed into the care, looked after. So when we were walking around, we were introduced to this girl named Lillian. And as we just one of the kids, as we were walking with her and as we were getting to know her, she was now about 12 years old, we realized that picture of 8 years old 14 pounds was the same girl that was standing in front of us. God created a miracle. But he used the Mully family, he used Dr. Charles Mully, he used people who supported him to create that miracle. When you look into a child like that and you know the history, boy, do my own personal wants, my desires, they felt insignificant. It was even embarrassing to think that those very things had stopped me from doing much more than what I had done up to that point. And so when we came back from that kind of a realization, we said, absolutely, we have to do a whole lot more for this. And that's when through work circumstances, I decided that I needed to do this now. I was at an age, I was 49 years old. And you know what? If I'm going to use cycling as a platform, I got to do it before I become an old man. I left the job. I was vice president at that time of operations. The company believed in what I was doing. They gave me a 1-year salary. We found a way to stretch it out to 29 months. We sat with, at that time, our 3 kids and their in-laws, and we went around the room, and one for one, they said, Mom and Dad, if God calls you to do this, you can do this. And basically what we've done since that time is we lived off their potential inheritance. And so when that money, when that 1-year severance ran out, that's when we had the real testing time for us, because I wanted to go back to work. What do I do now? You know, this was 29 months of work we'd done. I had done more than a lot of people. I said, you know what, God, I got to look after my family. And it was hard. It's countercultural. I mean, at age 50, you know, you don't live off of RSPs that you're supposed to tap into when you're 70. We handed it over to God, and we've had peace. We've never looked back. Some people came on board and have actually helped us personally a little bit. So we've simply said we do this until the money runs out, and then we don't know what we're going to do. And it has been an absolutely incredible ride. That commitment God has turned into, multiplied, and literally into, by now I think it's $2.5 million that we've raised for Mully Children's Family.
I have been rescued.
I am happy and alive. I live with 2,000 brothers and sisters.
I'm going to school and getting an education.
I have clean water.
And good food we grow at our home.
I have learned to love.
To love.
To love. To trust.
To care.
To hope. To dream.
To take responsibility.
To take action.
To make a difference.
I have choices.
I have opportunities.
I have a future.
I am the future.
Together we can make a difference.
We can make the world listen. We can change Kenya.
We can change Africa.
We can change the world.
We will change the world. We are MCF.
We are MCF. We are MCF.
Asante sana, thank you very much.
Asante sana, thank you very much.
I love my life.
I love my life.
I love my life.
I love my life.
I am very shy.
I am very shy.
Arvid, I came to know him in the year 2005 when he visited Mully Children's Family. However, then he was having desire to help children as well. And then when he went back to Canada, he felt so much, really in great desire to help the needy children at Mully Children's Family. And he has been able to run across Canada, riding his bicycle, raised substantial amount of money over the years, and send it to us. We have been able to develop and improve and expand our greenhouses, irrigation through his help. But also I cannot forget the people of Canada who has been very generous over the years and supporting him and being able to give that amount of money for the running as well as for the improving of the Mully Children's Family. I've come all the way from Africa, really coming to California to be with my friend Arvid, his wife, and the rest of the team that has come from Canada to come and make a difference in the lives of the children in Africa, especially MCF. And I really feel so good and very much honored, and I'm very proud to be associated with Arvid Loewen and his determination, his dedication to mankind. And I would like to continue to pray for him and encourage him that he remains focused until the end. And this is the beginning. But the beginning is always an end. And therefore, what we are looking for is a good race, and then in finishing the race, and then God will be given honor and glory.
In 2011, I attempted to break the Guinness World Record from Vancouver to Halifax. And it was going well, but it was also very difficult, as it always is. And I began to retain a lot of fluid in my legs, okay? Which really makes your legs feeling stubby and fat. And at the end of the day, it feels like you're pedaling underwater. I was 22 hours ahead of record pace, because I had had good conditions up to Winnipeg, but this kept getting progressively worse. Started to hallucinate, I started to see things that weren't there. So I was about 2 o'clock at night on a way to Marathon, Ontario, is where I had a very defining moment and how to cope with a lot of this kind of stuff. Is I stood on the side of the road and I was done. It was fog, it was middle of the night. I thought I was done, I can't do this any longer. I actually, my bike was not much different than this, and I saw a ravine just feet above. And my thought was, if I just do this, I have a legitimate reason to quit. But the ironic thing is, just as I'm contemplating that, I'm looking behind me and my support vehicle has a perfectly good spare bike on top of it right behind me. But here's where a very significant aspect changed. Up to that point, I had been praying, God, help me to do this, give me the strength, do me all this kind of stuff. That's when my prayer changed to, God, I can't do this.
Go back to what I've said. My overall motive and goal was for this thing, and that is to finish this regardless, because I committed 86,040 kilometers to this platform. And these kids have experienced nothing but disappointments from adults in their life due to various circumstances, and not nearly all of them at the fault of the adults either. I don't think we are in a position where a little inconvenience, a little pain, a little bit of fluid, a little bit of hills, challenges, allow us to take that option out and simply say, you know what, this is too hard, I'm just quitting because it's not my responsibility. I have no intentions of that. And so to me, I intend to struggle on. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Basically whatever it takes to get to Halifax, because that's the platform that I committed to this cause.
I had arranged for Charles Mully to meet me in Ottawa or short of Ottawa, and then he was going to be part of our entourage to Halifax, where if I set a Guinness World Record, he was going to be presented with a $50,000 check on top of what I was raising. But here I was in Ottawa, Ontario. I finally said, that's it, I can't do it. I took a break, I went to a hotel room, I put my feet up for 17 hours. At the time, I was 12 hours ahead of record pace. I gave up on the record. I said, I can't do it, this one is beyond me. Next morning, I got back on a bike, started riding slowly.
Hey, go Arvid, way to go! Whoa.
Shortly thereafter, I met Charles Mully on the road. It was a pretty emotional greeting. And that's where that man taught me. He's taught me a lot of things. But after our greeting, he prayed.
I'm so glad, very proud of you. You've done what men cannot do. But with God, you know, all things are possible. And we are really promised in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 27, all the way to that one, that even when the young people, they run, they drive, they will get weary. But those who trust in the Lord, Amen, they will never get weary. And this is today the manifestation of the Lord. God is showing His power in you. And you do great things. And you are going to finish it in the name of the Lord. Father, we thank you so much that we come before you with thanksgiving. And I want to pray for my dear brother. We are in the wilderness. We are on the way, oh Lord, to victory. And I pray that God, you may grant unto him victory in Jesus' name. That Father, the world will know that you live it. And that you can raise those who are weak to become strong. And Father, for the cause of the children in Africa, for the cause of the children at MCF, God, we thank you and we pray that you may use this son of yours, the man you made, the man you created, the man whom you called upon, and he has sacrificed his body, his soul, his spirit because of your name. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.
Physically, mentally, I had given up. I was still struggling with all kinds of internal, emotional distress. That man has an unshakable faith, but what he does, it's not just a faith that God will provide. He puts actions together with faith. And that to me is one of the most valuable lessons that I guess I've learned over the course of time with this kind of biking stuff is we as Christians, we have to put actions behind what we believe in. We cannot just sit there and let God do it for us. Hey, we got to do our part. How do you come out of those lows? And it's the whole idea of overcoming adversity. I mean, you get practical experience of overcoming adversity. What do you do when you see no light at the end of the tunnel? It becomes a faith story. I have to keep going because I know the sun is going to rise tomorrow. And in real life, it's not that much different on our faith. I mean, we don't always feel God that near and close to us. It becomes a faith story.
The feeling that you have, like I told them at the beginning, if we get to Annapolis, if we do this successful, it'll be a whole team accomplishment. He couldn't get here on his own, and it takes all of us to make this happen, and that's a really, really neat feeling.
We've known Arvid for a long time. I used to work with Arvid in the past. They had enjoyed us crewing last year and said, look, you know, would you be willing to do it again? And I said, oh, in a heartbeat, but not RAAM, right? So here we are. God's grace and God's provision was just seen everywhere there.
I was honored to be part of this team. It's always a great experience, and to see also what his reason is to do this race. It's not for selfish reasons, it's for a reason to make awareness, create awareness of the needy people in other parts of the world and to help them out.
You know, no matter how long my bike event is, it always divides it for me into 3/3. There's the first part of it when you're getting into it, you're optimistic, you say you can do this thing. But then there's that middle third. And it's the middle third, no matter how long your event is, can be absolutely devastating mentally because you're into it too far to quit, but you cannot even conceive making it to the end.
This is a tough race, but it's also a dangerous race. As safe as they try and keep things for the riders, there's always something going on, and you have to be extremely careful, and you're sleep deprived.
You got ups and downs in a race. You have some good days. You have some days that didn't go that well. We had one night in particular was pretty tough. where like, I had a hard time really waking him up. He just was so exhausted. It was a hard time to wake him up. At the end, it looks like it's going to be down to the wire. It's going to be nip and tuck to make in the allotted time.
It was hot, and then it just became insanely hot. And I was talking with one of the race officials here who said it was about 10 degrees Fahrenheit over the normal for this time of year. So it was for Canadians, it was in the high 40s.
When my stomach went south on me in day 2 in the Mojave Desert and with the unbearable heat, I didn't see how I was going to recover. But I made a commitment. I made a decision that you don't quit in life when it's at its worst. You delay the decision, you delay the final decision when you are in a much better frame of mind. And then there's the last part of a ride, the last third, when you actually start to say, there's light at the end of the tunnel, maybe I can do this.
So happy for him because he's worked very, very hard, and he deserves it, and the kids at Mully Children's Family deserve it too because they've been real prayer warriors for him. So, you know, a big shout out to them because they are his inspiration.
Thank you.